Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am sitting on my bedroom floor because this is where the best lighting in the house is right now. I've been using this area a lot lately just because it's been really like gloomy a lot lately, and when it's gloomy, some of the other areas in the house that I like to film, I almost always use natural light. Some of those areas just don't light up as much, so I am sitting on my bedroom floor just because the lighting is good here. But hi, I'm a day late with my video. I have a reason for that, I promise. I will do that reason very early in the video. But I just want to let you guys know what I'm going to be talking about today, and then I will get into some of the other updates and stuff. So this week I was really wanting to put together a video. As you all know, if you've been here a while, I have a bunch of new subscribers, which is awesome. I'm so happy to have you guys. And some of the people, I've been getting a lot of questions about, like, just more about who I am, who we are as a family, how my husband and I came to the decision to become foster and adoptive parents, like what was our road to get there, because it's not, a super common decision to make. So how did we get to that decision, who we are, where we're at now? And the other big one I get a lot is, are we going to have more kids when our adoption is finalized, or are we done with these two boys that we have now? So I was planning on doing all of that this week. I'm still going to do all that, but instead of uploading it yesterday like I normally would have, I am uploading a day late, and that is because as of yesterday, our adoption with both boys is final. I just got goosebumps. Our adoption is final. It is done. They are ours forever and ever. I will post some pictures, maybe like right here, of my boys right here, or maybe at the end, because I know those of you who have been with me for a long time really want to see the boys. I am going to be working on a proper introduction video for you all with just all the amazingly adorable photos and videos that we have taken of the boys in the time that we've had them. And we will do a proper introduction video at some point. I do have to go back. I mean, we've had one of these boys, gosh, for over 2 years. So we just have stuff like from way back, and I want to find the best photos and videos for you guys. And we're going to do a really cute introduction video at some point, but I will include some pictures because I know you all have been waiting forever to see these boys. So you might see them pop up here, or maybe I'll do them at the end, but that is why I'm a day late. Yesterday was our official adoption day. We have not had our court date yet. So the way it works where I live is that the paperwork gets signed by the court, and then it's official. Like, our adoption is official, but there will still be a court date where the Department of Social Services formally requests of the judge to release the case. And that's, when people do the pictures at the courthouse and all of that. We have been forewarned that ours likely will have to be virtual given the situation with COVID. So we may not end up getting cute pictures from that. We'll see. But in the meantime, our adoption is actually finalized, even though we haven't had our court date yet. I have been given permission to post them on social media, although I don't need permission anymore because I am legally their mother now. So that's just the really exciting news. And again, we will do formal introduction video for the boys, hopefully in the very near future. But in the meantime, let me introduce myself to all of my new subscribers. My name is Anna Leonora, and together with my husband, Jason, we are foster parents in real life. And here on my channel, foster and adoptive parents, I've got to rework my intro now. But here on my channel from the Fosters, we do foster parenting life and I guess adoptive parenting life together. And we raise awareness for the foster care system, for fostering and for adopting from foster care. And we just do foster parent life together. I think I already said that. I'm so excited. But if you're interested in any of that, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel down below so that you can join my very rapidly growing cyber family here on YouTube. And so you can kind of follow along with our journey. So let me tell you how we became foster parents. For the people who are new here and don't want to dig through all the old videos, which I totally get. How did we become foster parents? Well, we did not always think we were going to be foster parents. That wasn't something that was introduced to me as a child. In fact, nobody in my family fostered. Um, I never really had much exposure with the foster care system, and I realized that that is a privilege that I had in my childhood, but I never really was exposed to it. I never knew much about it. So it was never really on my radar, but I will say that as a young girl, I always wanted to adopt children. I don't know why. There's nobody adopted in my family. I'm not sure where that seed or idea or inkling came from, but it is something I have always wanted to do. It's just always been ingrained in me. And I always assumed I would adopt, but I always assumed I would adopt after having biological children. I never wanted, and of course there's no one right or wrong way to do it. This was just my mindset. I never wanted my adopted children to think that I was adopting them because they were filling a hole in my life, that I couldn't have children. And so I was filling my hole with adopting children. Like, that was never, so I assumed if I had had biological children first, they would know that I was adopting solely because I wanted to adopt and I wanted to be able to provide a family for a child in need. That was just my mindset, right? And I told my husband that before we were married, that I wanted children. I wanted a lot of children. I wanted biological children. I wanted to adopt. And when I met him, he was not keen on the idea of kids in general, but he came around. I told him I would not marry him if we were not going to have kids, because kids were going to be part of my future. And eventually he came around and said, I would be happy to have children with the woman I love. So we got married, and like many married couples, we started trying to have children. And, I always had this ingrained sense that I would be a mom. Like, I just always have known I was going to be a mom. Part of my purpose in life was to be a mom. So it really hit me very hard when I found out that I very likely cannot have children biologically. My husband and I tried for several years, and we just never even got pregnant. It just never happened. We were seeing fertility doctors and doing all the things. Eventually, after a year and a half or so of not getting pregnant the old-fashioned way, I was given a medication to force my body to ovulate on a specific day, at a specific time, and then the rest. I got pregnant from my first round of that medication. I did get pregnant, but I lost the pregnancy very early on, like week 5. I mean, it was super early, because we had used medication and, we were being watched by doctors. We found out we were pregnant in week 4, which is, almost an entire month before most women find out they're pregnant. I was pregnant in week 4 is when I found out. And then by week 5, middle of week 5, we lost the pregnancy. So my doctor did some more testing. She found out that I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune disorder affecting my thyroid, and all of my hormones subsequently. I also have polycystic ovarian syndrome. So while it would not be impossible for me to get pregnant, it's highly unlikely, especially given that it's been this much time, now that we were actively trying for a very long time, and then we were no longer trying but not preventing, and it's just never happened. So it's very unlikely, not impossible, but very unlikely. And, we got to a point, we did do some cycles of medication following that pregnancy loss, and we never got pregnant again. Even with the medication, we just never got pregnant again. And at some point, it takes enough of a toll on you that you say, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to do this to my body anymore. And we certainly got to that point. And then we started talking, well, if we're not going to have kids biologically, maybe we don't wait to adopt. Maybe we start looking at adoption now. And at this time, I was only 26, 27. We didn't have money saved up for adoption, right? Because we had assumed adoption would be well in the future. And sorry, I have a cat coming over. If you're new here, we have a lot of cats too. This is a cat tower. Sometimes you'll see them walking on it behind me during the videos. But anyway, I also have really bad ADHD and I get distracted a lot in these videos. So we didn't have the money for an adoption. Private domestic adoption and international adoptions can run you anywhere from like $15,000 to $50,000, depending on your agency, where you live, all the things. But it's a lot of money that we did not have sitting around. So we started thinking, well, what are our other options? The only reason that we really came to foster care, or like came to even be discussing foster care, was because my husband has a cousin who adopted from foster care. Her and her husband adopted a 12-year-old boy. That was probably 10 years ago now. He is a young man at this point in time, and he's awesome. But we had a wedding. Sorry, my ears are stuffy. I think it was one of my husband's aunts got married. I can't remember who was getting married or what the situation was, but we had a family event. And I ended up sitting next to my husband's cousin and just picking her brain about foster care, about adopting from foster care, a little bit of her story, how they came to that decision. They wound up being matched with children whose parental rights had already been terminated, and they did their process, wound up with this young man who they love, and he's an amazing person and a wonderful addition to our family. But their story was a little different. Well, that's actually at the time what I thought I wanted to do, was just adopt. I didn't think I could support reunification. I didn't think I could have a child in my home that I'm loving and caring for, and then they potentially get taken from me. I didn't think my heart could handle that, especially after infertility and a pregnancy loss. I just did not think I could handle it. So when we started looking into fostering, it was with the intention to adopt only. And it was with the intention to only match with and seek out children whose parental rights have already been terminated, that haven't found an adoptive home yet. That was the idea. When we started our classes, we had no idea what truly fostering is, and what the foster care system is, what brings children into the system, what keeps children in the system, what prevents children from being adopted out of the system, and all the things. And as we were doing these classes, because in order to adopt from foster care, at least in the state of North Carolina, you have to become a licensed foster parent. So we had to do all the classes, we had to do all the things to be a licensed foster parent, even though our intention at the time was not to foster. While we were in the classes, our eyes were just open to a whole new world. And it was one of those things where it was like, maybe it would be really hard for us to have to say goodbye to a child, but whatever that child is going through is far worse than how we're going to feel. And we're adults, we're stable, we can figure out how to handle our emotions if, it comes to that. But these children don't deserve what they're going through, and they deserve a loving, happy family, no matter what period of time that exists for. And so we had a change of heart. While we were getting our foster license, we changed our mind and said we will be not only just a foster home, not only just an adoptive home, but we will also foster, or foster to adopt, which is the terminology used in our state. Sorry, my focus is all over the place today. And then we did it. We did the thing. We got licensed. It took us 8 months. It doesn't have to take that long. Oh, there's my kitty. It doesn't have to take that long. It took us that long because we did not have children. So we had to entirely get our house ready for kids. We had to get cribs, beds, dressers, changing tables, clothes, diapers, bottles. We had to baby proof. We had to do all these things to our home that took us time. And so we took our time with it. The day our license came in the mail, like the day it showed up in our mailbox, is the day that we got our first placement. We had 2 little boys under the age of 2, and we had them for 6 days. They went to an aunt, a biological aunt. And after that, we were so exhausted because, gosh, going from no kids to 2 little kids under 2 was like, and we only had 2 hours to prepare for them. It was like insane. And we were like, okay, we just need a minute to reset and take a breather. So we requested that we not get any phone calls for a little bit. So we were not called for any children for about a month. After a month, we got a phone call for a 4-year-old little boy who is now my son as of yesterday. So we got him, we call him Casper on social media. Here's a cattail, sorry. We call him Casper on social media. Maybe I'll try to edit a picture of him in here now. His name is Jesse Peter, and he will go by Jesse or JP, but that is Casper. We have had him for over 2 years at this point. We worked a full reunification plan with his parents. Reunification didn't come off the table entirely until I think a year and a half in. And even then, even though reunification was off the table at a year and a half, their rights didn't end up going away until almost 2 years, I think. So it's been a long road with him, and he's been here through all the rest of them. So technically he was our second placement, third child, because our first placement was 2 kids. And he's been here for all the rest of them. We've had 8 total children come and go. But when we got him, it was just him. He's not an only child, but his siblings are older and gone out of the house. So he's the only child that needed to come into care. And he had a lot. I'm not going to share the details of his story because he's not old enough to provide me consent to do that. But there was a lot, and we needed to have him and only him for a very long time. So we had only him for about 8 months, I think. And then we were like, he's in a much better place now. Maybe we can start toying with the idea of taking other children in. And we thought the best way to do that to begin with was respite. Like, well, maybe we'll just take some kids in for respite, and that we'll just see how it goes. So we took 2 little boys, at the time 5-year-old and 2-year-old, I think. And at the time, Casper or Jesse, JP, oh God, it's going to take me a minute to get used to that, getting to call him by his real name on the internet. At the time, he was approaching 5 years old. So he was almost the same age as this other kid, couple months behind him. And then we had the 2-year-old. And they were here for 10 days for respite. And it was not the right fit. So we were glad it was respite because the older child and Jesse really had some, not issues, but they just didn't mesh with they both had some sensory issues. And, the sensory seeking that Jesse did was the kind of sensory avoidance the other one had. And the sensory seeking the other one had was the sensory avoidance Jesse had. And it wasn't a good match. But we did our 10 days. And when they left, things went to hell with Jesse. We found out at that time that there is an attachment disorder likely, and it hasn't been officially diagnosed, although it's been discussed. It just really wasn't good. It wasn't good for him to have kids in the home that he became attached to and then for them to have to leave. It wasn't good. We loved those little boys. We actually have run into them around town. They are with their grandparents now and doing amazing. And they're just really doing very, very well. So it was a good experience overall, but it really threw a wrench in his mental health issues. And then things got really, really bad again. So we didn't take anyone for a while again. Then there was a newborn baby girl who came a couple months after that. And we were like, well, gosh, she's a newborn. Like, how much can she really mess him up? She's a newborn. She can't do anything. She was 12 days old. And she was the best baby, like the cutest, best, Most amazing baby. And he really loved her, and he was really very gentle and kind with her. Sorry, my cat is rubbing on the tripod. He's trying to play with this little string. Here you go. He loved her, but because she was only 12 years old or 12 days old, he couldn't really play with her or develop, those kinds of bonds. So when it was time for her to leave, he was sad, but it really didn't affect him in the way that the two other boys did. So she left us. She went to a biological aunt. We kind of knew the whole time that she would. It was just a matter of when. She was with us for a month and a half. And then we said, with his mental health, Jesse's mental health issues, we really don't think we should be taking more children in unless they're here to stay. So we told our social worker, we only want calls for pre-adoptive children. That's all we want right now. That's all we think his mental health can take. I think the revolving door of children was very difficult on him. Even though it wasn't like a huge amount of revolving door, there was just a couple, but I think it was very hard for him, and he was still very young, and he's still healing from his own things. So the next call we got was for a then 3-year-old little boy, and at the time Jesse was 5. And there's a long story there, but I had already been familiar with the case of this 3-year-old little boy through other things. And, someday maybe we'll get into that. Not explicit details again, because he can't provide consent at his young age, but just sort of like overview. But I was aware of his case. I knew who he was. And immediately in my gut, it was like, yes, this is my kid. Like 100% yes. The minute I first heard about his case, something in my gut felt like this is my kid, but we were never called for his case earlier on. So when I found out it was him, it was like the wind was sucked out of me. Like I just knew. So we call him Salem. His name is now Otto Liam. He does go by Lee as a nickname. He has gone by Lee as a nickname for the entirety of his life. So we wanted to make sure that he could still go by Lee. So his middle name, Liam. He has expressed to us that he would like to start going by Otto, but we're so used to calling him Lee. So we'll get there. But if you hear me say Lee or Otto Liam or Otto, they're the same kid, and they are Salem. We have had him for over a year now. And when he came to us, he was a pre-adoptive case. His parents' rights had not been terminated, but the court had approved not working reunification with his family. So when he came to us, it was with the goal of him staying with us forever. And we just knew that this was going to be the right fit. We knew that their age difference, they are exactly 2 years apart. They both have October birthdays. So now we have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, exactly 2 years apart. But Jesse's emotional mentality, which is very common for children in foster care, is a little bit younger than his age, his biological age. So we just knew that that was a really good age difference for them. They took to each other immediately. I cannot even tell you, day one, they were best friends, and they have remained best friends. They fight like brothers, but they have remained best friends this whole time. And the fact that we had 2 separate cases, we got them at 2 different junctures in their case. I mean, we got Jesse almost immediately. I think he spent 1 night, maybe 2, in a prior foster home before coming to us, but he's been with us pretty much the entirety of the time he's been in foster care. And Otto was with another foster family for quite some time before coming to us. So we got them at different junctures, and we've had them different amounts of time. But something in the universe, it just worked out that we got to adopt them both at the same time, which is mind-blowing. That is insane and so freaking cool, because we were really concerned with Otto coming to us as a pre-adoptive placement. We were concerned, well, what if we get to finalize our adoption of him first, but we've had Jesse longer? What is that going to do to Jesse's mental health? And we didn't have to cross that bridge because we got to do them together, which is awesome. In the time that we've had the two of them, Otto was number 7 for our placements. In the time that we've had them, we did take in one more placement, a 12-year-old girl whom we call Wednesday, back at the end of last summer, early fall. And she was with us about a month and a half, I think. And you can go back and watch some of the videos there. There was a lot there, and we still love her. We have pictures of her up around our house. I have been given permission by DSS to keep in touch with her a little bit via social media. With her being a 12-year-old girl, she has all the social medias. So I do write with her sometimes on Instagram and keep up with her. But she was with us about a month and a half, and then had to leave our family for various reasons. So those are our 8. Now we have our 2 adoptions that we've been waiting for freaking ever. We signed our adoption paper. We started our adoption application in June of last year, June of 2021. It wasn't approved until, I want to say, October of 2021. So it took that long to get approved. And then some other stuff with the courts and everything with COVID slowing things down. We signed our portion of our adoption paperwork on December 17th, and then it was submitted to the court, and it had to go through a couple more steps, and it wasn't finalized until January 24th, 2022. So from June of 2021 to January 24th of 2022, that's how long it's taken us to have these adoptions finalized, and it's just like mind-blowing that it's over. Are we going to take in more kids? We don't know. And I think that that's okay. I think that we're not going to close our foster license because we're not sure. And I think it's easier to maintain the foster license once you have it than it is to close it and have to reopen it at a later time, because we would have to go through the classes again and do all the things again. Whereas to relicense, it's just a little bit less paperwork and a little bit less cumbersome. So we likely will keep our license open, maintain it. Maybe we'll do some respite here and there. I don't know. We'll see. We just don't know what the future is going to hold. But because we're not ready to say that we are 100% done forever, we're just going to leave it open. But I will say that we likely will not be taking any more children for a while. These kids are very young. They're 4 and 6 years old. We need to get their heads wrapped around the idea that this adoption is final. And as you know, if you've watched my channel, we try to be very trauma informed. And even though we are so excited for this chapter to be over, adoption comes with its own trauma. And we need to make sure that their mental health is protected and that they are able to work through whatever feelings that they might have. But who's to say Jesse's 6. So in 4 years, when he's 10 and Lee is 8, maybe they'll be in a good enough space that we can bring in more children. I don't know. And I'm not ready to say 100% we're done. But on the same token, if we were to be done, I think we would be okay with that too. But we're really trying to come at it from, we're not trying to complete our family. We are not trying to gain kids for our family. We're trying to provide our family to children who need it, to children who maybe don't have a safe family and a safe home, a safe situation, or whatever. If we have space in our home and space in our hearts, why would we not offer that? You know what I mean? So we feel like we could be happy and could be okay being done and just being the 4 of us. But there's still that piece for both of us that feels like maybe we're not done. So I think we're not going to close our license. We probably will not take any more children in for quite some time. We just need to sort of like come together as now a legal family. We've got to do all the paperwork with the name changes, birth certificates, getting daycares and schools updated, doctor's offices, all the things that come with that. And then we can reevaluate. And in the meantime, we'll just do what we have to keep the license open, the continuing education hours, the keeping our CPR up to date, the fire inspection every 2 years, these sorts of things. But we likely are not going to take any more kids for a while. So when it comes to this channel, I'm still going to be talking about foster care and giving information and educating people. I'm still going to be talking about adopting from foster care, but also the importance of fostering in general and the importance of reunification and biofamily relationships and all the things that come with that. But I'm hoping that now I can also kind of weave in some adoption stuff, because now I am technically an adoptive mother. I didn't feel like I could talk about it too much before because I wasn't an adoptive mother. And so who am I to speak on that? But now I am. And as things happen with being an adoptive mother, I hope that I can share some of that as well. And then just like parenting in general, and you'll get to see my kids more and kind of just our life and how like normal it is, you know, given it being a not normal situation. So that's where we're at with everything. Again, thank you all for being here. I know this was a really long video, but I really just wanted to go into kind of the full story so that it's all in one place for all of my new subscribers. Again, we've been foster parents for 2.5 years at this point, and we've had 8 total kids come through. Only 2 of them have stayed. The other 6 have gone, all of them to kinship and, you know, things like that. We have not been able to keep up with most of them enough to know if they ever were reunified or if they're still with kinship. We do know our respite placement from, I guess now 2 summers ago, did go to kinship, and because we've seen them around town. But our other ones, and then of course we know what's going on with the 12-year-old girl who we call Wednesday because I keep in touch with her on social media. But the rest of them, they went to kinship, and then we have no idea. And that's just part of fostering. We just have to hope and pray that they are doing well where they are. They're loved, healthy, happy, safe, you know, and with family. So we've had the 8. We now have adopted 2 officially, finally. And yeah, we don't know what we're going to do with kids in the future. We don't think we're done, but we know that we're done for a while, at least. And I'm just really glad to have you all here. And I hope that some of you can kind of connect with our story and just know that like we're 2 totally normal people, that life circumstances just landed us in this direction. And so this is the direction we went, and this is how we're going. But like, we're just 2 totally normal people who happen to have chose fostering and happen to have gotten some adoptions out of it. And I just want more people to know that it's not what you see on TV. It's not what you hear on the news. It's not the things that you know, all the misconceptions out there. It's just not that. And that's my whole purpose for being here, is just to shine some light on it and how like normal it can be. So all of that being said, this video is too long as it is. I love you all. I'm so glad you're here. If you'd love to join my growing family, please subscribe down below. Be on the lookout for my adoption story and introduction video with my boys. I am going to take some time with it because I want to select like the best photos and just make sure that it's all perfect. But I'm so excited. And I know that, you know, those of you, especially those of you who have been here with me for a long time, you're going to be excited too. And just look at how freaking cute my kids are. Like, they're so adorable, and I can't wait to share more of them with you. As always, go out and shine your light into the world. Until next time, I love you guys. I'll see you soon.